Okay, welcome back to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
So we've got a deep dive lined up today that might touch on something you feel like you already know, but maybe haven't thought about quite like this. We're diving into English grammar. And specifically, we're pulling insights from a source called The Crazy World of English Grammar.
Right. And the goal here isn't really to, drill rules into anyone.
No, definitely not.
It's more about looking at how this material frames the core ideas. It offers a perspective that can actually be a kind of shortcut to understanding how grammar builds meaning.
Exactly. And I know the word grammar can sometimes make people, well, groan a bit.
Oh, yeah. Ugh, grammar, that sounds boring.
That's the reaction, isn't it? But this source tackles that right away, which I liked. It uses this really simple analogy. English without grammar.
It's like tea without sugar.
Just wrong somehow. Doesn't work.
Yeah, it highlights that grammar isn't just random rules someone made up. It's the actual structure that makes communication, functional.
Understandable. And they give this perfect example, I thought. The difference between saying, I cooking my homework versus I am cooking my homework.
Right. The first one is just confusing. You
Yeah.
picture someone literally cooking paper, maybe.
Yeah,
And you get a worried look from your teacher, for sure.
definitely. Whereas the second one, okay, it describes a very weird activity.
Should be weird. Yeah.
But it's grammatically okay. It shows how that little bit of structure, that am, stops it from being total nonsense.
Prevents the chaos.
Which gets us to the core message this material wants us to get up front. Grammar isn't really about being perfect all the time.
No, it's about enabling communication that is correct, clear, and confident.
Right. Giving your words power, making sure they land the way you intend.
And to understand how that happens, the source breaks it down into these basic parts. They call them the 5 building blocks of grammar.
Yeah, I love the analogy they use here. Lego blocks.
It's very visual.
Every sentence, whether it's simple or super complex, is basically built from these foundational pieces. So let's pull them out one by one, like the source does.
Okay. They start with the noun. This is your essential labeling block. A person, place, thing, or even an idea.
Right, the core subjects, the objects. The examples are pretty straightforward. John, pizza, school, happiness.
Basic stuff.
And the sentence they use shows its role. Pizza makes John happy. Establishes who and what we're talking about.
Okay, so that's block 1. Next up is the block that gets things moving, the verb.
The action word. Or, as this source puts it, and I thought this was quite charming, the kamwala lafs.
Which, for listeners who might not know, is Hindi Urdu for roughly the word that does the work.
Yeah, it's a really intuitive way to think about it, isn't it? The doing word.
It really is, and the examples they give are active. Run, eat, sleep, sing.
And putting it in a sentence, like they do, students sleep during grammar class.
With that little note. Not this class, of course.
Hopefully not. But yeah, the verb sleep is the engine there. It tells you what the students do.
Okay, so you've got your noun who or what, and your verb what they're doing. How do you add more detail?
That's where the adjective block comes in.
Right. This describes the noun, adds color, flavor, specificity.
Things like funny, smart, lazy, blue. The source gives the example. She is a smart girl with a blue pen.
So smart tells you about the girl, blue tells you about the pen. Modifies the noun.
Yeah, and they add that little joke. Maybe she's got smart excuses too.
Always good to have. Okay, building on that, block 4 is the adverb.
Right, so if adjectives describe nouns.
Adverbs describe the action, how it's done, or when or where.
Exactly, they modify verbs usually, but they can also modify adjectives or even other adverbs.
The examples given are things like quickly, slowly, loudly, very.
And the sentence example really nails it. He ran quickly when he saw the test paper.
Quickly tells you how he ran. Modifies the verb ran.
Makes sense. Okay, final foundational block according to this source, the pronoun.
Ah, yes, the stand-in, the shortcut block.
It just replaces a noun so you don't sound repetitive.
Like he, she, it, they, we.
Exactly. And the source uses that perfect illustration. Instead of saying Ali is hungry, Ali wants food, which is a bit clunky.
You just say Ollie is hungry, he wants food.
Much smoother.
Makes the language flow way better.
So yeah, those are the 5 foundational pieces according to this material. Noun, verb, adjective, adverb, and pronoun. The building blocks you assemble.
But, and this is a key point the source makes right after, Just having the blocks isn't enough.
No, not at all. How you put them together is crucial. They get into some of those funny but real common mistakes.
Right. Examples of what happens when the blocks aren't assembled using the standard patterns.
Like, I goes to school.
Yeah, that just sounds wrong, doesn't it? Even if you can't immediately say why.
Exactly. The source points out, obviously it should be, I go to school. And they have that line, unless you're inventing your own grammar language, which is a fun way to put it. Grammar rules are kind of the shared agreement on how the language works.
You know, another common one they flag. She have a pen.
Again, instantly sounds off, should be, she has a pen.
Right. And the source adds that little aside, wondering if she has 100 pens.
Yeah, just to underline that it's not about how many pens, it's about the verb form matching the subject, she.
And a personal favorite from their list. He don't like pizza.
Ah, yes. Correct form. He doesn't like pizza.
And the source's reaction is just great. Who doesn't like pizza? Is that even legal?
It adds personality, but it also highlights a really specific rule, right? Third person, singular subject. He needs, doesn't, not don't.
These simple examples really show that English has these, well, conjugation patterns you need to follow, even for super common verbs like go, have, do.
And it's not just picking the right form of the word. The source really emphasizes that the order of the words is absolutely critical.
Oh, yeah. The analogy they use for this is fantastic, very memorable. Don't mix the biryani.
It's perfect, isn't it? You wouldn't just chuck all the ingredients for a complex dish like biryani into a pot randomly and expect it to work.
No way. The sequence, the layering, the placement, it all matters.
And they show this with a translation example. From Urdu, the phrase, Main Bazar Jaraha Hun.
Gran gun means I am going to the market. Standard English word order.
But if you just translated word for word, following the Urdu structure, you might end up with something like, to the market I go and am.
Which the source calls Yoda-style grammar.
Hey, exactly. Fun in Star Wars, maybe?
But totally confusing in everyday English. The standard structure is subject-verb-object or subject-verb-complement with modifiers in expected places. I am going to the market.
So arranging those Lego blocks correctly is just as important as knowing what each block is. Word order creates the meaning.
Definitely. The source then kind of circles back to reinforce these basics with some quick check examples, like a little pop quiz.
Yeah, they list simple words, cat, dance, fast, read, she.
And just identify the part of speech cementing those roles we talked about.
Yeah.
Dance.
Verb.
Fast.
Adverb. Describing how someone might dance, perhaps.
Read.
Adjective.
And she.
Pronoun. Simple recall, just to make sure the basic categories stick.
They're fundamental, yeah, but they anchor those 5 main types of words.
So if we pull all these threads together from the source material, the main takeaway, the big message, is actually pretty positive, isn't it?
It really is. Grammar is not the enemy. That's the headline.
Yeah. It's framed not as this scary, difficult thing.
But as something super helpful. Essential, even.
And they use one last analogy that I think really lands well. Grammar rules are like traffic rules.
Okay, yeah. Nobody finds traffic rules particularly exciting or fun.
Right. You don't wake up eager to follow traffic rules.
But imagine driving without any rules. No stop signs, no lanes, no speed limits.
Total chaos. Absolute gridlock and crashes everywhere.
Exactly. And they say speaking without grammar is basically the same thing. It just becomes this communication car crash, but confused meaning everywhere.
It really drives home their main point. Grammar is your friend, not a scary monster. It's the system that keeps communication flowing smoothly.
It provides the necessary structure.
And I did appreciate their final sort of cheeky, modern thought.
Oh, the autocorrect bit.
Yeah. If, after all this, you still find grammar a bit intimidating, their parting advice is you can always just blame your mistakes on autocorrect.
A very 21st century excuse. And sometimes, let's be honest, autocorrect is actually the culprit.
True. It's a convenient fallback.
It is.
So maybe the thought to leave listeners with is this. Next time you're writing something, or even just talking, maybe pay a little attention to those building blocks.
Yeah, I notice the nouns, the verbs, how they're arranged.
Think about how their position and their form are working together, or maybe sometimes not quite working together to get your meaning across.
It's the hidden architecture, really, of the language we use constantly. And understanding even just this basic structure that the source lays out. It can genuinely bring a lot more clarity to your own communication.
Definitely worth thinking about.